The invitations have gone out, 370 odd unique invitations actually, as it seems like Apple has sent custom art out to everyone invited, in a myriad of styles from abstract to pop, and the event date is set October 30, 2018 at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, Howard Gilman Opera House. So what does art and music have to do with iPads and Macs? I'm Rene Ritchie, welcome back. And before I begin, I just want to take a moment and thank all of you. As I shoot this, Vector is being featured on the front page of YouTube Trending as creator on the rise. That's amazing. It's amazing. And it's all because of you and your support. For that, I'm truly grateful. Now, let's run this down. We've gotten a slew of rumors about the next generation iPads Pro over the last year or so, but there are still a few new things trickling out, most recently from Kuo Ming-chi last week via Mac Rumors. Kuo says that we can expect to see 2 new iPad Pro models that are equipped with USBC, improved displays, and an Apple Pencil with a new design. The first of those 2 new iPads should be the same physical size as the 10.5-inch iPad Pro from last year, but with an 11-inch screen that better fills up the frame. The second should be the same screen size as the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, but with less of a frame to fill, making it slightly more portable. USB-C, while losing Lightning compatibility, will open iPad Pro up to PC peripherals and, hopefully, even more Pro use cases. The new displays could be similar to the Liquid Retina Apple debuted with the iPhone XR, which they called the best LCD ever. Does that mean haptic touch as well, though? I'd love to see it. Mark Gurman from a day ago in Bloomberg. Nearly edge-to-edge screens with slimmer, symmetrical bezels, a USB-C connector for charging and syncing data. Face ID will work in both portrait and landscape orientation. The screens will be less expensive LCD panels rather than OLED. The iPad's external look will be redesigned as well. It will include a more squared-off size, a faster processor that's a variant of the A12 Bionic chip, a custom Apple graphics chip, an updated Apple Pencil. So, bye-bye bezels, hello chamfered edges. It'll be interesting to see how Apple reinterprets and maybe moves forward that design language. Guillermo Rambo had a few more details on how Face ID should work as well. Basically, you set it up in portrait like on an iPhone, but then you can use it in portrait or landscape after that. A12X should be a beast. A12 is already a generation or more ahead of other mobile silicon, and if history is any indicator, A12X will be that on serious GPU gamma rays. Guy also wondered out loud if USB-C could mean an external touch display for iPad Pro. I'd love that. Also a smart keyboard with a capacitive touchpad, or a key or keys that can work as a capacitive touchpad. And yeah, backlight would be great too. That there's a new Apple Pencil has been rumored several times as well, though what a new Apple Pencil means hasn't really been explored. Automatic pairing like with the new 9.7-inch iPad, and perhaps a carry and charge via the new magnetic connector have been speculated, but what else? What new styles? What new colors? What new features? We'll have to wait and see. Rumors of the iPad mini's death may have been slightly exaggerated, at least according to Kuo Ming-chi. From the same research note from earlier this week, again via Mac Rumors, Guo says that Apple will launch a new version of the iPad mini, which has not seen an update in several years. Guo says the device will feature an upgraded processor and a lower cost panel. Guo does not know, however, if Apple will announce it during the media event or launch it sometime later in the year, early next year. A new 7.9-inch iPad mini in a 6.5-inch iPhone XS world is interesting, but what's even more interesting is trying to figure out what form a new iPad mini could take. A few years ago, Apple dropped an updated processor into the long-languishing iPod Touch and shipped it as new. Apple understood a small but passionate segment of its customer base loved the Touch, and that gave them a touch that could run modern versions of iOS, at least for a few more years. With iPhone SE, Apple did something similar with iPhone 5S, again giving customers who loved the device a more modern version to keep on loving it, at least for a little while longer. But neither of those have seen any further updates since, and iPhone SE has now been dropped completely from the Apple product portfolio. 9.7-inch iPad though, which was a weird combination of iPad Air display, iPad Air 2 cameras, updated processors, and now Apple Pencil support has been updated, at least once, on a year-over-year basis. The updated processor but lower cost, maybe non-laminated panel likely means no edge-to-edge design, probably no USB-C, and almost certainly no mini smart keyboard. In other words, not a Mini Pro. Still, that could make for an even less expensive option for education, enterprise, and people who just want a smaller, cheaper iPad, hopefully with Apple Pencil support. But whether it's a one and done like iPod Touch and iPhone SE, or a new ongoing like the 9.7-inch iPad seems to be, we'll also have to wait and see. There hasn't been anything new on the Mac Mini rumor front, though Mark Gurman did recapitulate his previous rumors on Bloomberg, adding new processors and features for professional users. Still unrumored is whether there'll be entry-level options as well, and just how far those pro-level features will go. Given MacBook Pro can now hit 6-core i9 Coffee Lake with up to 32 gigabytes of RAM and 4 terabytes of SSD, that would make it more of a Mac Mini Pro and make a lot of people happy, especially given that we won't see the pre-announced new modular, likely Xeon-based Mac Pro until 2018. That's the dream at least, even if reality may end up being somewhere more in the middle. There's also nothing much new on the entry-level MacBook quote-unquote Air replacement either. Mark Gurman, again recapitulating for Bloomberg. A new entry-level laptop to replace the aging MacBook Air. It will have a higher resolution 13-inch screen as well as slimmer bezels around the display. The new entry-level minimizing bezels before the MacBook Pro is probably a reflection of the order of the current update cycle, although Apple has used the ultralight to sort of push forward design trends since the original MacBook Air. But all of Apple's Macs, like iOS devices and Watch already, should be getting that design treatment sooner rather than later. Speaking of other Macs, they should be getting their updates on as well. Gurman touched on that in Bloomberg. Apple is also working on refreshed iMacs, iMac Pros, and 12-inch MacBooks with faster processors, and at least some of these updates could be ready for the October launch. All of that is absolutely expected given the Kaby Lake updates we got at WWDC last year, but the Coffee Lake updates we still haven't gotten this year. Newly re-rumored are AirPower and updated AirPods. Previously speculated to be dead on pre-arrival, Apple kept AirPower language on the iPhone XS info pamphlet and on the just-released iPhone XR pamphlet as well. Then, Guo Mingqi, earlier this week. According to Guo, Apple could launch new AirPods and the AirPower either late in the fourth quarter of 2018 or early in the first quarter of 2019, but he doesn't yet know the company's specific plans. Spring has also been rumored for AirPower. Since neither iPad nor Mac have any direct connection to AirPower, Apple can launch it if and when it's ready. And when it comes to charging, I am supremely happy for Apple to take its time and get that thing right. We should also see software updates, the 0.1 updates for iOS 12, macOS Mojave, tvOS 12, and watchOS 5. iOS 12 will have all the new TrueDepth stuff for iPad Pro, including Animoji and Memoji. For iPhone XS and XS Max, the new depth control in preview and a fix for the bugs in Smart HDR. For everyone, emoji, and nothing drives adoption like emoji. As to other software like Logic and GarageBand, Final Cut, and iMovie, well, back in March, Apple took everyone on a field trip to Lane Tech College Prep High School in Chicago. There they introduced the new 9.7-inch iPad with pencil and crayon support, but they also sent us to classes where real-world educators taught us Pages and Swift playgrounds and had labs that showed off AR exploration and showcased a dozen and more apps. In some ways, it reminded me of what Apple had done with the iMac Pro in late 2017. They brought a bunch of us to New York City and showed us how Cinema 4D, VR musicians and developers, architectural modelers, photographers, videographers, developers, and more were using it to accelerate what they were doing and doing things they never could before on an iMac. Apple did something similar again this past July with the Coffee Lake MacBooks Pro. Student VR developers, medical molecular modelers, gigapixel photographers, musicians and music producers, videographers, performance artists, and more were again able to do things more quickly or do more things than they ever could do on a MacBook Pro before. It was a powerful way to see new products in context being used by actual professionals for real-world work. And I don't know about everybody, but it really helped inform my coverage. It got me to think beyond my own preconceptions and use cases, and frankly, see, hear from, and talk to people beyond Apple's executives and marketers, including what they loved about the new products, what solved problems they had, and what still didn't work for them, and the problems that remained. For a company as big, old, and successful as Apple, changing things up so radically, including inviting YouTubers from around the world out to go hands-on with new products beyond the traditional news and blog review cycles, is super interesting to me as well, especially since even post Steve Jobs, they have the whole keynote followed by press briefing thing down to an artful science. It's kind of risky, but I really dig it, even if it does piss off some of the old school journalists. So that's why Brooklyn. So we can see iPad Pro and maybe iPad Mini, and Mac Mini, and maybe even what's replacing the MacBook Air being used by the wide and diverse types of people who use them, by the artists and musicians, doing the wide and diverse creative and professional things they use them for in their production pipelines, in their workflows. and see what real-world value they deliver to the real world. Now, if you want to become one of those creatives and professionals, please let me direct you towards Brilliant. Brilliant is a website and an app that lets you, instead of passively listening to lectures or podcasts or even videos, helps you master concepts by solving fun and challenging problems. Brilliant provides you the tools and frameworks you need to tackle these challenges and learn how to tackle basically any challenge. Brilliant's thought-provoking content is based around breaking up complexities into bite-sized, understandable chunks that will lead you from curiosity to mastery. So what are you waiting for? Check out brilliant.org/vector and start today. Thanks, Brilliant, and thanks to all of you for supporting the show. Right, okay, so I'm posting this and then I'm hightailing it to the airport for New York City and for Apple's October There's More in the Making event at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, where all of us will finally see what Apple has in store for us and will have in stores for us this holiday season. So now's your last chance to let me know what you think we'll see and what you want to see. Hit like, hit subscribe, and then hit up the comments. And thank you so much for watching.